Hello everyone, welcome back to Relax with Animal Facts. I am Steph Wolf, and today I'm going to be learning with you about our furry, scaly, or possibly even slimy friends. Today is a very exciting episode because we are talking about the wolf. So the wolf is an animal that has been used in media a lot. It's been a center of attention in different kinds of movies and stuff like that. I'm sure that many of us have had a wolf as a background on our phones or computers at one point in time, just because they're a very common animal. But maybe we can all learn something new together today. So this episode is dedicated to Wolfcraft Games, who wrote into the show via email. If you want to have your animal featured on the podcast, or you just want to write in and have a back and forth with me about how you enjoy the show, or maybe some things you would like to hear about or listen about, or how I can improve as a host, or how the show can improve, go ahead and send an email to relaxwithanimalfacts@gmail.com. I welcome absolutely everybody to do that, just because I always get so excited when I open up my email and I see a new email from you guys. So again, this is dedicated to Wolfcraft Games. Thank you for listening, and thank you for suggesting. So before we start the show, I just wanted to say a very quick thank you to all of you who have been clicking follow on Spotify or wherever you are listening, whatever podcast platform you're using, because it helps this podcast reach other people that maybe want to relax with animals as well, and different facts and things like that. So thank you for helping the animal podcast family here grow, to all of you, and to all of you future listeners. So let's get right into the show. So I got my facts from wolfmatters.org and nationalgeographic.com. So if you are interested in visiting those sites or learning more about wolves, I very much encourage you to go and research more. If you ever find an animal that you really like and you really are feel deeply interested in, I always encourage you guys to go and maybe watch a documentary or whatever. So starting off the show here with how many species are there of wolves? This I didn't actually know. I kind of only thought there was one. That might have been a little bit ignorant of me to think. But there are indeed 3 species of wolves. This includes the gray wolf, the red wolf, and the Ethiopian wolf. A species of wolf I've never heard of. And there are also several subspecies underneath that. But the primary 3 rather are gray, red, and Ethiopian wolf. So wolves are very, very fast. They can sprint about 36 to 38 miles an hour for some short distances. So those of you that are more familiar with kilometers per hour, don't worry, you don't need to do the mental math. It is about 58 kilometers an hour. So what's important here is that they can go this fast for short distances. So they would not be wanting to go this fast all the time. They would be completely depleted on energy and make it very, very hard to hunt. We have covered, for example, the cheetah on the podcast, also the tiger, but the cheetah in specific is known all around the world for its very, very incredible abilities of running the fastest out of any land mammal on Earth. However, that can only last just a few seconds. We're talking maybe 10 to 15 seconds, or just a little bit more than that, just because it takes a profound amount of energy to move that quickly. And some of the animals or the prey that the wolves are going to be hunting, they could be, the majority of them are very endurance kind of focused animals. They're able to run very long distances, so the wolves wouldn't want to necessarily let all of their gas go right. Maybe not the best choice of words, but maybe not use all their fuel right at the beginning, or as early as possible. So they can run very quickly, but only for short distances. So in the wild, wolves can live about 13 years or so, and in captivity around 16 years. So we can see that this is very close to dogs, and this is because they are very closely related when it comes to evolutionary history. So it makes sense that wolves can live up to 13 years in the wild, but it doesn't increase to something like 30 years in captivity, because this is just the life expectancy of many of these kind of canine sort of animals, so like dogs and things like that. And the main threat to wolf survival is going to be habitat loss, of course. Although they are in very good standing, which is awesome, very awesome to read that they're not endangered. But the main threat is habitat loss, so things like development and encroachment of humans, and they are also threatened due to hunting by humans as well. More in certain parts of the world, but of course still an issue for their population. And wolf pups are born in the spring, and they live with their mother in the den until they are about 3 weeks old. So we can see here 3 weeks old for some of the animals that we've covered. 3 weeks old is very, very young to not be dependent on their mother. Many primates that we've covered on the show, we know that they need to be with their mothers for the first few years of life. 3 weeks, really forget about it. But with some of these animals, I guess with wolves in particular, they only need about 3 weeks until they are able to sort of move out, I guess. So to move out of the den, 3 weeks old. So very different when you compare it to humans. Nobody's going to ask their 3-week-old child to move out and get a job, right? It is going to take a little bit longer for that to happen. But with wolves, right from the get-go, 3 weeks. And all wolves in a pack help raise and take care of the pups. So it's sort of a collective thing among the species, which is awesome. It is always good to see when the whole group helps in the process of raising offspring. This can help a few things. One, it could be for survival purposes, that it can really help. Being in packs can ensure that they aren't in as much danger from predators. It is more important for, I suppose, animals that are not wolf-like, such as deer or elephants and things like that. So animals that are at more risk of being taken down by a larger predator. Well, not necessarily larger, but I guess one that is interested in hunting them specifically. But with the wolves, having that pack helps to support the offspring as they grow up. And if you're wondering how much a wolf weighs, they can weigh, it really varies a good amount, from about 40 to 175 pounds. So there we see a big kind of difference there. So this could be due to a variety of different things, but just like how many of us have different breeds of dogs, maybe some are bigger, maybe some are smaller. For example, if you have a little Shih Tzu, in comparison to someone who has I believe that the dog is called a Saint Bernese. I hope I'm not making a mistake. I might get an email for this, but like those mountain dogs, those gigantic, gentle giants. But we can see that there's great difference in dogs, and we can also see that in wolves as well. Not necessarily, by different breeds or whatnot, but just the difference in weight. From the smallest to the largest wolf in a pack could be very large. And if you wonder why they howl, right? The howl is one of the trademark things of the wolf, used in so many different things. It is used by them mostly to communicate. So if alone, a wolf may howl to attract the attention of the pack, and the packs will howl together to send more territorial messages from one pack or another. Kind of, saying, okay, this is our turf. Don't cross here. This is where we are. So we've seen on the podcast before many animals that have sort of their own territories that cover a certain range. Here, wolves have packs that cover a certain range, which is very similar. And wolves are the largest members of the dog family, so they definitely get a thumbs up. They're on the very top when it comes to the dog family. And they can roam very large and long distances, sometimes up to 12 miles, or don't worry about the mental math, about 20 kilometers in just one day. So we can see why it's important for them not to run 60 kilometers an hour all the time, and rather for short distances, just because these guys can also play the endurance game very well. So wolves definitely prefer to eat large animals like deer, elk, and moose. One wolf can eat about 20 pounds or 9 kilograms of meat at a single sitting. So of course, large animals are going to be super important for that. I suppose mostly for survival. I assume that's why they, like that, while they like the larger animals, because you're in a pack, so a lot of them share. Larger animals are going to really benefit the entirety of the group and not just one wolf individually. So for maybe some of you dentistry students out there or current dentists, adult wolves have about 42 teeth, okay? But don't get it wrong, I don't think they would like to visit the dentist. I don't think so. So a wolf's gestation period is about 63 days. So we're talking close to 2 months, or a little bit over 2 months on average. So that makes plenty of sense, given a wolf's general size and things like that. 63 days seems like a very fair approximation. And it is believed that wolves were first tamed in East Asia about 15,000 years ago. So that is very interesting. I didn't read more into this particularly. If I suppose those wolves, became household dogs over time, I suppose that might be a theory there. But of course, I would have to research more into that. But if you're wondering when they were first tamed by man, East Asia about 15,000 years ago. So in Canada, which shout out Canada, I'm from Canada here, beachcombing wolves will swim between islands and eat crabs and clams and other sort of tidbits there that they can find. So they like seafood, which is great for them, and they must do the signature doggy paddle from between those islands to get the crabs and the clams and other things like that. So it's a very awesome fact. And gray wolves are the planet's most widespread large land mammals after humans and livestock, of course. So we know that we have a vast abundance of chickens and things like that, but wolves are next in line after, of course, humans and those livestock. So wolves live in family groups called packs, as wolf pack. It's a very common term that's used, and it's made up of a male parent, a female parent, and usually some of their pups over the previous years. Now, I've seen some documentaries where this changes a little bit, not by much, but by a little bit. You see this kind of alpha male behavior, at least from what I've seen before, but maybe it changes. I'm not exactly sure. But it says kind of for the most part that it's a male parent, a female parent, and then some of the pups kind of over time that they have raised beforehand. And sometimes on the show, I will question the validity of some of the facts, and I think it's really good to be skeptical about certain facts and stuff like that, because it also helps, learn in general. Struggling could be a good thing to learn, a lesson to learn from. So I always like to, if something doesn't seem right to me, I will kind of try to go a little bit deeper with that. So wolf packs will work together to hunt for food. So of course, wolf packs will share that responsibility, and the loss of just one wolf from a pack can really damage. It says here the cohesion of the group, and it could even cause packs to break up. So not good. I suppose that there are certain social ties and things like that it's interesting to see that just one death in a pack can cause such a big shift in the social dynamic of these animals. So super interesting for me. And pack sizes will range from about 3 up to 20 wolves. I don't know what the maximum amount is. It says 3 to 20. I don't know if 20 was just the absolute maximum anyone has ever found, before in the wild, but that is what it says here. So a wolf pack has a set kind of a rule book, I suppose, and a structure. So the pack leaders are going to be an alpha female and an alpha male. And these two are going to be dominant over the other wolves in the pack. and the alphas are the only wolves that will be able to breed and produce pups in the pack. They will also have the ability to eat first. All the other wolves will let them eat first. So if you've ever questioned sort of alpha male in nature, why are there alpha males and why do they get all these sort of privileges with things like breeding privileges and I suppose in this case with the wolves, eating privileges, things like that. We have seen before in gorillas and in different sorts of primates and other animals. It's a very, very popular system, having an alpha male, things like that. In many species, there will be interpersonal competition. So this will just be sort of male-on-male competition to see who is the alpha male. So for some animals that maybe have horns, things like that, they will, butt heads. Or one really interesting one is the giraffe, another animal we've covered on the show before. Having these competitions to see who has the strongest neck and whacking each other with their necks to see who comes out on top. This is sort of nature's way of finding, I suppose, the most fit individual to survive possible. So the females of that species will prefer to, or will absolutely want to breed with the alpha male, as they are called, because they have the opportunity to breed with the member of this group that has the strongest genetics when it comes to survival or when it comes to those interpersonal competitions. And in the animal kingdom, survival is absolutely paramount. The two things that matter for nature generally is for offspring to happen, and is for offspring to carry on into adulthood to produce more offspring and carry on that genetic line. So if you've ever wondered, I suppose, about alpha males and things like that, of course it's a topic that can be explored a lot when it comes to animal psychology and stuff like that. But of course, this is the Wolf Podcast. I'm not going to take away from that. I just get excited about certain stuff and I'll just start going off on it on a tangent sometimes. So I apologize. But the social structures of a pack can actually change. A wolf can sometimes get lower down in the chain of command, like in the pack hierarchy as it's written here, and may even challenge an alpha wolf for pack leadership. And if the alpha wolf loses the challenge, it will sometimes leave the pack or become what is commonly known as a lone wolf. Again, a very common term used for, used in media and in human kind of context as well. So they will sometimes find another mate and start a new pack. And very, very low-ranking wolves are often picked on by the other wolves and may also leave the pack. So wolves will defend their territory from other wolf packs or other predators they might find a threat. And while a lone wolf might be somewhat easier to intimidate and to take on, a whole pack could be a big problem for a potential predator or for another, I suppose, pack of wolves. And wolves are a keystone species. So keystone species meaning that they play a very unique and crucial role in the way that their specific ecosystem functions. And without these keystone species, these ecosystems would be very, very different than they are now, or even, worst case scenario, not exist at all or cease to exist. So every animal that we've covered plays some sort of role when it comes to the circle of life and how, in the balance of nature and in the habitat that it lives in. And the wolves are considered a keystone species. So I'm just going to take a quick drink of my tea here. I'm, of course, drinking a chamomile here. I wonder, maybe one day I should start a line of chamomile tea, and, drink my own stuff here. A little bit of honey, fantastic for me. So let's continue on. Enough about chamomile tea. So wolves will prey on injured, young, old, sick, and genetically, or what they perceive to be genetically inferior elk, deer, moose, which will allow the healthy individuals to breed and continue their species. This is also a way in which natural selection kind of occurs. So the animals that might be not fast enough, like the animals that are able to outrun some of the other animals, don't get eaten and are able to continue on their genetic line, therefore having faster, possibly faster and more adept sort of species. Wolves also help feed other animals in the ecosystem. So carrion feeders, for example, and other scavengers such as eagles, bears, and crows will eat the remains that are left by these wolf packs. And the remains of kills left by wolves will often be a big influential factor on the survival of some of the species during harder times, such as the winter time. And wolves also help riparian areas, which are also known as wetland areas that are directly adjacent to rivers and streams. They help distribute ungulate herds, which allow vegetation to recover and really prosper and grow in the river and streams. So this could provide more food for certain aquatic animals like fish and frogs and other kind of animals that could be living in those places. So that is the last of the facts. So we've covered so much in this episode, just because there's so much to learn about wolves. Before the listener mail, I'm going to say the last episode, not the last episode, I'm going to say the final fact of the show, which has to do something with the name, or maybe where, who discovered it, or there's some cool story. So, but I did find sort of a story here where the first gray wolf, which is its scientific name, is known as Canis lupus. It probably appeared in Eurasia sometime in the early Pleistocene period, about 1 million years ago. So that is very cool that they have lived for this long. That means they're doing something right, obviously. So for the now we're going to do the final segment, which is listener mail. So this is from Wolfcraft Games, the individual who wrote in, who wanted to see wolves in the first place. Wolfcraft writes, "Hello, I was wondering if you could do an episode covering wolves. Wolves are my favorite animals, and I'm having a lot of trouble finding wolf podcasts on Spotify. Well, I hope that that you enjoy this episode, and thank you so much for writing in. Again, I love reading those emails, so if you want to have your animal on the show, or you would just like to send me an email, you can send me an email at relaxwithanimalfacts@gmail.com, and I will respond to you 100%. I get so excited when you guys email me. So those of you who are interested in supporting the show further, you can go to patreon.com/RWAF podcasts. /RWAF podcast, not plural, and you can subscribe on there for $4.99 a month. You can get exclusive bonus video episodes. You can see Steph Wolf's face if you want to. You could, of course, just have it, you could just not open the video at all. If that's your fancy, no problem. You will get weekly content that is not available anywhere else but on my Patreon. So again, that's patreon.com/RWAF podcast. So thank you so very much for those of you listening. And I hope you enjoy the next podcast episode with the next animal. Take care.